Everybody, so I'm here today to do another book review. I actually had a different review planned for this week until I realized that today was release day for MJ Padgett's book, Evernigh. And this is a book that I actually beta read for and that I'm very excited to talk to all of you about. So first of all, let me see if I can get it without the glare. This book has a gorgeous cover. It is an epic fantasy and it is the first in a trilogy. So the series is called The House of Aurum, but the first book is called Evernigh by MJ Padgett. So first of all, let me just start with like I usually do with my overall review. So I am going to give this book overall 5 out of 5 book dragons for story quality and 5 out of 5 happy penguins for parental chill factor. There's really nothing in this book that I would be concerned about for a YA audience at all. But I'll go a little more deeply into maybe some personal warnings if you have sensitivity to violence or anything like that. So I'll go into that in the content warnings. But the violence does not exceed a PG-13 rating. So in terms of my YA clean reads ratings, there's really nothing of concern that would, lower that parental chill factor. So I'm going to give my rapid review for this book. If you want to know more details about it, there is a blurb and book review on the retail sites, and I'll post those links down below. The book is currently available in ebook form on Nook, Kobo, and Amazon, and also in paperback on Amazon. If you would like to check out more info about the book, you can definitely see the full book description there. This book is an excellent high fantasy. It's set in a world of allied kingdoms with seasonal magic, but it's not a fae story like you might expect with seasonal magic. The magic system is actually very interesting and unique, and the story definitely has an epic fantasy feel with a strong romance subplot. Actually, the romance kind of becomes the main plot, but I'll explain that in a minute. The book is dual POVs, dual points of view. So you follow the King of Evernigh in one of the POVs, and then Nari Crossway is the other main character, and you follow her in the second POV, and she is helping her sisters care for their farm after their father, who was a soldier who had served with the king, has died. So this book has a strong kingdoms at war undertone, balanced by this plotline about Nari's own personal distress, and that puts her in direct conflict with the king himself. When the king passes an edict that would make Nari and her sisters lose their family's land and livelihood. So romance and relationships become a key plot element when Nari hatches a plan early on in the book to marry the king's brother, who's like a rascal prince, in order to secure her family's land and survival. So that's the overall premise for this book. The characters in the kingdoms in this book are human, like I said, not fae, but they have powerful magic. So it's definitely an epic fantasy. It's set in its own world. It's not set in the real world. There's lots of mystery and intrigue from the get-go. The world that MJ has built is really complex and interesting. And then there's also a sweet kind of enemies to love romance that builds slowly throughout the book. And there's lots of drama and suspense and action as the story develops, and some twists that I didn't see coming, which it can sometimes, I read so much fantasy and I do so much work with plots that it can sometimes be hard to surprise me. But this one did have some twists I didn't see coming. The tropes in this book would be enemies to love, as I mentioned, and also like a character discovering magic. That's a typical trope for fantasy. And then for content warning, there's really not much for this book. But if you are sensitive to violence, there are a few scenes that are not graphic, but they are violent. Some battle scenes, some scenes where people get injured or killed. So if you have a child who is sensitive to that, that may be something to be aware of. But as I said, they're not described graphically, and I still feel like it fits in with the PG-13 rating for these reviews. Actual age recommendation for this book would be 13 plus, possibly 11, like if you have a tween who is not overly sensitive to tense, like suspense and tense scenes and some violence. And then also, 11 plus if they're ready for romantic storylines, because the romance element of this book is a core plot element. It is a focus of the book, but it is a sweet romance. There is nothing to be concerned about in terms of sensual content or explicit content. 13 plus definitely, possibly 11 plus if you think they're ready for the romantic storyline and some violence. That's it for my review of Evernigh. I really loved this book. I thought it was extremely creative and just a really well-built world. The characters are very likable. The dynamics between the characters are very real and complex and interesting. There's just a lot going on with this book, and it's a really, really good first book of a series, and I'm excited to see the rest of the trilogy as it unfolds. So if you have any questions about this book, drop them below. You can also find more information about her book on the links that I'm going to put in the description. As I said, it's available on Amazon, Kobo, and Nook as ebooks, and then also on Amazon as paperback. It may be available in other places, but those three at least I know for sure. And you can also find more about MJ and her books at mjpadgettbooks.com. So thank you for joining me for this review. I hope it was helpful in deciding whether this story is one that you'd like to check out. It did release today. So if you're interested in this book, hop over and show MJ some love by going ahead and purchasing it and giving it a try if you think it's something that you might be interested in reading. Thank you guys. Bye.